GLAM, Los Angeles.
Hi, Kirby. Hi, Sarah. Welcome to Los Angeles.
Glams, we have a very special guest today because we have the founder of the secret skin clearing oil that the Glamgelinos have been testing for several weeks. What, like a month at this point?
Yeah.
And I believe by the time this goes live, all will be revealed.
Yes.
They will know the brand and they will know, because we asked who they thought.
That no one guessed it.
No one
No
so
one
far
guessed
has
it.
guessed it, which
They
was
were trying to be very put investigative with their caps on, and they're like, the packaging's pink, so I think it's like this or whatever, and we are just like,
Kendra Cole Butler is here. She is the founder of Alpine Beauty. This is a brand that you guys likely know because it's in Sephora.
mm-hmm.
And Kendra is a longtime friend. We adore her. And she came to us and said, I have this new product. I want the Glamgelinos to try it. And we said, by all means, come on over, sister. So we are so grateful because she's here. If you don't know about Alpine, you should. They are an incredible brand. They have a very, very unique background and story that really separates them from other brands that you might see in a Sephora. And that's why we have Kendra here. We want her to give you guys the tea, not only on her background and what she's learned over the years of being in the beauty industry, but also more about Alpine. Come here. Sorry.
we have a special guest,
an
additional special guest.
If you heard a little cry, it was Quinn. She's literally just sitting on the couch over. I wish the camera could pan over because she's literally just sitting on the couch like she's a guest. Kendra, I'm sorry that she's also a guest on this episode.
She's just really excited
She
about
she
this
can't
product.
upstage me, which she seems to already be doing. She's much cooler than I am.
Absolutely not. She's just a little diva. But Kendra, welcome to Los Angeles. We are absolutely thrilled to have you. Thank you for coming on and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm a huge fan of both of you. I've been following you guys forever, and I listen to the pod daily on my end of the day walk. I walk to the bridge at the end of my street, and I just listen to episodes, and that's my time with you.
We are so
day.
sorry.
I
that
know.
you
That seems not
subject your-
relaxing.
Yeah, it sounds chaotic, actually. So we are deeply apologetic.
What an honor to be a part of your walk, though. Thank you.
Every day. Every day.
Okay, Kendra, we want to know exactly what is on your face. What are you loving?
How much time do we have for this? Okay, let me think. So I consider myself as a minimalist. That being said, I probably reached for about 20 things this morning when I was getting ready, a minimum of 20. So right now I'm doing 2 drops of the Isle of Paradise self-tanning drops, medium, and I mix it with my Super Goop Glow Screen, and I make like a little cocktail blend. So that's what I have on my face. Obsessed with Danessa Myricks, the Dewy Lip and Cheek palette. That is my desert island product. Cannot live without it. I do a little bit on my cheeks and my forehead. What else do I have on right now? Exa, they make an under eye concealer called Peach in a peach tone. It's always sold out. It's so hard to find it, but it is a game-changing product.
What's it
Don't
called?
Sleep.
Exa.
It's Exa. It's the Credo brand.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
the
say
color
they're like a clean brand.
Hair care, I've got a little bit of color wow going on. The anti-frizz dream coat, the spray.
We both are like,
Shut
we're
up.
all lifting our
Yeah.
hands in the air if you can't see us. We are
No
obsessed.
frizz.
You used to
This is
style
my
your
Dyson
hair.
Airwrap,
Uh-huh.
like you do, Kirby. You always, when you have no time, this morning I was late, you grab the Dyson Airwrap, you just do a little zhuzh.
Yes, I was on
Very
a
easy.
mom podcast yesterday, and they were asking for time-saving hacks, and that was one of them.
You could also curl just like the 2 strands in the front. The back is a mess. Like you don't know what the back
Right.
looks like, but
Right.
that's the other thing I do for Zoom calls is I'll just do like 2 quick
Oh
strands.
yeah,
and
I don't
then
even
I'm
know what
done.
the back of my head looks like.
That's what Clayton Hawkins, a celebrity stylist, calls junket hair. You just pull everything to the front, make the front look good. The back, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because who cares?
Because no one's seen the back of your head.
Yeah,
No one cares.
no one's
Who
taking a picture
cares?
from the back. Yeah,
Right.
no.
Just lays on a pillow for half the day. It's like, who cares about the back? Yeah, so that's what I have going on right now. Oh, a little Gucci bronzer. I think Gucci does the best bronzer. I love the Gucci bronzer. Sometimes if I need a little like pick me up, I'll go there.
Ooh, I love that. I haven't tried the Gucci bronzer.
I haven't either.
It's a must try. I've got my Tower 28 mascara on.
Yes.
Shout out to Amy.
Amy.
And that's probably about half of the routine, but I don't want to take up too much time.
I was going to
I
say,
love that routine.
Kendra, so we'll learn this. You're in Jackson Hole.
I'm in Jackson Hole.
What's the climate like right now during the summer?
Very, very dry. It's warm during the day. There's a 40-degree temperature change between day and night. So our days are about 84. Our nights are like low 40s, high 30s.
Wow.
So it's crazy. It's actually nice to like go sit outside and put like a little wrap on, and then during the day you're like outside in the river and you're hot and it's just like the sun is baking. The biggest complaint with Jackson Hole is dry. There is zero humidity. So your skin, like when you land on an airplane on the tarmac, your skin, every ounce of moisture is sucked out of your face. I mean, literally like almost to a cracking point, but it's beautiful. Look, we have a 9-month winter and we have 2 months of picture perfect, stepped into a painting kind of summer. Wildflowers, blue sky, bison running around everywhere. It looks fake. It looks fake.
Is that where you're from? What brought you
No,
there?
I'm from New York City. So I was in New York for my entire career, and in 2015 I had a case of burnout. I just was like, do I want this for the rest of my life? This, corporate job, high anxiety, toxins, like everybody type A personalities, where I just was like, I wasn't right as a human being. I did some soul searching and I was like, everything looks good on paper right now, but my soul doesn't feel happy. And we moved to Jackson Hole with the intention of staying here for 3 months. And we were going to just take a break, like a TO on life, and then go back to Manhattan. And that was 10 years ago.
And you just never left. You said, we're staying, babes.
I said, I'm staying, babes. We did one summer here. And after I had the first summer, I was like, I can never ever leave this place. And look, I love Los Angeles. I love New York. I travel all the time. That's where I go to get my culture and my food and my fashion. But Jackson is now home.
That's amazing. What took you to Jackson Hole? It was just, okay, this looks like a respite from New York craziness. Let's go and check it out. Or was there a particular reason?
Circled it on a map. We came here, we moved here in November. So I know I wanted to go to a ski town. I wanted something that had a functional winter. And we had been here, my husband and I, like once or twice on vacation. And we thought, let's go to Jackson. I had a 4-month-old. I was breastfeeding. I'm like, wow, the mountain is right next to our rental house. I can like feed my baby, go ski, come back, hand the baby off. Like it was kind of a great little situation to do a winter. And then after that winter, we ended up staying for the summer, and we were hook, line, and sinkered at that point.
I mean, everybody that I know, I've visited Jackson Hole and it's gorgeous. But everybody I know that goes there falls in love with it, and it's just a completely different way of life. A lot of our listeners, even though we do have a lot of Angelinos or Glamgelinos, if you will, we have a lot of people that are based in, Texas and in the Midwest and stuff like that. It's not just like the big LA, New York, Miami, coastal like metropolises, that's why we always try to like come back down to earth sometimes.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, this trend might be blown out of the water for us in these big cities, but like other places are maybe just starting to learn about this ingredient or this trend or this product. So
100%.
do you feel Jackson Hole is like that? Do you feel like Jackson Hole's on like the cutting edge of what's hot? Or because I remember when
like
me and you had a conversation a few years ago and you were like, I felt like I was bringing that to Jackson Hole, right?
Look, I don't want to get in trouble with my people or anything, and I'm sure my community's listening to this, but when I moved here and I first opened the beauty stores, that was my first job here. It's like I opened the beauty stores, and women were coming in not using sunscreen on a daily basis, because that would be my first question. Like, what is your SPF? Like, what are you using? And they would kind of just look at me with this like, wait a minute, we're not using SPF? Smart people here, very smart, highly educated, an amazing community, but I think maybe a little bit behind on, some skincare trends, trending ingredients, and coming from New York City, out of like Dr. Dennis Grossland, which I was with him for a long time. I was kind of shocked that people just didn't really think of skincare as such an important part of their lives. And it was kind of an afterthought.
Also because they're obviously so active, spending so much time outdoors. So you would think that like sun safety would be a priority.
You would think. I mean, people were coming into my stores with like, they look 10 years older than they were. And I was like, wow, this is like actually what happens when you don't use good skincare and you don't use SPF on a daily basis, especially at 6,200 feet elevation. You know, we're very high altitude here, so you can get a sunburn walking from your car into the grocery store. So yeah, I was kind of shocked. I had a little bit of shell shock, and then trading in like the taxi cab, like the traffic jams for like buffalo crossing the street, trying to get milk. Like I would, you have to wait for like the whole herd to cross because you can't like get out of your car and push them along.
Yeah,
There's a lot of shell shock when I first moved here, but I loved it enough to stay, obviously. So
how did the brand come into play, Alpin? So you have seen like in-house behind the scenes what kind of chaos and craziness it is to launch a beauty brand or like to sustain a beauty brand, especially Dr. Dennis Gross, which has been around forever, one of the OG brands. I'm now, as I have met so many founders, I'm like, what gave you the crazy pill to like jump on launching a brand? Because it's so hard. It sounds like a lesson in terror. So how did Alpin come?
A lesson? It's kind of a great way to explain it. There's the highs are high, the lows are low. So I never intended to start a brand. That was the last idea from my mind when I moved here. I opened some beauty stores. I brought in 36 skincare lines. I was, my whole career was in clinical skincare. That's where I really cut my teeth, is clinical skincare. And I am a clinical girl through and through. I love clinical ingredients. And when I moved to Jackson Hole and I was selling all of these other brands, these great brands, like big brands that people love and that I loved, it was the first time I saw clinical ingredients alone not making the grade, like not working. Women were coming into my stores with really bad issues, hyperpigmentation, sun damage, dry skin, accelerated aging, deep lines and wrinkles. And I was selling all this clinical skincare, and 2 or 3 days later, they would come back in and they would say, this didn't work for me. What else do you have? Like, Kendra, you're from New York City. You don't understand skin in the mountains. Like high altitude skin, we need more. Like it's not doing anything. Like you said it was gonna help, it's not. So here I had a problem because I was getting all of these returns. 30% of every skincare product I sold in the stores was coming back into the store. And that's when I started just looking at my surroundings, and I was kind of focused in on the wild plants. So Jackson Hole is 98% federally protected forest. So we have a lot of foliage, lots of trees, lots of berries, you name it. Like there's a lot of plants here. And I started to think, what is growing here that's indigenous to the land? And how have these plants adapted in this high altitude climate that is wreaking havoc on everyone's skin? And what if I mixed a clinical formula, because I love clinicals, with some of these wild plants? Would the wild plants boost the efficacy of the clinical and help the people in this town? Because they have learned how to flourish in this climate. So I mixed like little cream. It was a trial. I handed out some samples in the stores just to kind of test this idea. And shockingly, it worked. Like I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't go to my yoga class, like without a woman like grabbing me by the shoulders and saying, what did you give me in that cream? This is the first time that my skin has felt soft, hydrated, happy. So it was kind of just stumbled into, and it started as an experiment of like, what if I did clean clinicals and the wild plants? And then I started thinking, why is nobody using wild plants? Why are like all the botanicals that we're putting in, they're sourced or from a manufacturer, or they're hand cultivated and grown? And then that just got my brain going down a whole different direction. But it was really an accident. I did not say, I'm gonna move to Jackson and start a beauty brand. It's necessity is the mother of invention, you know?
Right.
And were you mixing this up like at home? Like like you had a little.
Very, very good question. I did not. I found a contract manufacturer because I couldn't do it myself. I didn't know if you wanted me to get into this, but the truth is, I called 20 manufacturers, the big ones in the industry, and I said, listen, I have this idea. I wrote a formula for a moisturizer. I want to use your sourced clinicals, but I want to send you my wild plants. And everybody said no. Everybody said, we don't do that. Like the way this industry works, honey, someone called me honey, is we source from our ingredient suppliers and then you tell us what you want and you put it in. And I said, look, I've been in the industry a long time. I know the way it works. I'm trying to innovate. I want to use an ingredient source that nobody is using right now. And I got 20 no's. The 21st call was a yes. I mean, at that point, I could barely, and I was like, hi, my name is Kendra. I was so defeated at that point. But the owner of this lab was just like walking by the front office phone, at the reception desk. He picked up, he had partied in Jackson Hole, so he saw the 307 area code and he picked up the phone. He's like, are you calling from Jackson? And I gave him the spiel and he's like, this is different, but I want to see your plants. How soon can you get here? So I drove the plants to this lab, 8 months pregnant, like literally like belly, like touching the steering wheel. I had all these plant extracts in the back of a pickup truck. And I met with him, gave him the plants. He put them in the drum, gave me some samples, and that's what I started handing out in the beauty stores to test the concept.
Okay, this is maybe random and not even related, but you mentioned the suppliers being the reason why all those other labs said no. Is that because if you bring in your own ingredients to this lab, you technically have ownership over the formula? Or is that...
You have ownership over the ingredients, so they're my ingredients, but a lot of manufacturers, like there's a lot of things going on here. Most of them don't want to work with ingredients that they haven't sourced before.
Okay.
They're suppliers because they don't know those ingredients. Then you also have minimums that you have to hit, which is a whole nother thing. And like a lot of manufacturers don't want to take a chance on a small, new, unknown brand. It's really hard.
Right.
It's really hard. So I think the no was coming from two reasons. I had a proprietary ingredient source that no one had worked with before. They didn't know what it was. And then number two, I was just like a nobody, like sitting in this little town, Jackson Hole, with no money, no celebrity, no Instagram followers. And they were like, I don't know if we want to do this with you. So it took a while. And I almost gave up many times.
So then what was the aha moment? Like, this is going to work. Getting into Sephora is like a pretty big deal. So because it's a very oversaturated market. I mean, we are getting intel from people right and left that, oh, did you know that this brand is leaving Sephora? So there's like a lot on the line when you finally get there. I want to know, what was your aha moment, and then how did you get to how did Sephora get into the mix?
Well, first of all, Credo was a big supporter. So I had a PO from Credo and Goop before we even went into manufacturing of the line. I was still really scared to make the line. So I had been talking to them and they had been saying like, oh, we're hearing about like this Mountain West skincare brand. Like, so I started talking to them and I actually presented the samples that I made to them, and they both were like, we're going to carry the line. So they wrote POs before we went into production. So that gave me like the guts to go into production. Because when you go into production, it's like, it was all of our money we had to outlay. It's scary. And a lot of brands go into production and then they have no place to sell the products. So I did feel comfortable that I had those two national retailers behind me from the get-go. But I think the aha moment was we got a shot at a QVC show and we sold out the show within like 7 minutes.
Wow.
And I was so nervous. I thought we were gonna bomb. My hands were clammy. My mouth was so dry that my lips were sticking to my teeth. I'm on live television in front of millions of people, and I just like diarrhea at the mouth with my story. I was like, look, like I live in this crazy town. Everyone's skin's so dry. The plants are hydrated and beautiful. I put them in with this clinical formula. Here's the Melt Moisturizer, blah. And we sold out that show. And it's like, they have a lot of inventory. So that was the moment where I was like, you know, between sobbing like for 3 days after that and disbelief, that's when I was like, okay, like there is a spot in the world for this innovation, you know, and people love nature, but they also want their clinical, you know?
Right.
So it's like, it's like the perfect synergy for the skin. But that was like the big moment. And then after that sellout show, retailers who I'd been reaching out to started returning my emails. Like people was starting to, like that got enough buzz, I think, that we got a few more retailers. Sephora was not one of those. Sephora is the best prestige retailer in the country, in my opinion, and probably the world. They have super smart merchants. They are very, very curated in their selection. They know exactly what their clients want. I had known that I really wanted to work with them, and I had reached out several times, and there was a lot of back and forth. Sometimes I hear founders talk. They're like, oh, Sephora came after me. They wanted my line. And I'm like, really? Because that took me a long time. That was not the case for me. I was definitely the pursuer in that relationship. But I heard Sarah Blakely say, like, you can will things into existence sometimes. Like, if you see them happening and you just believe that this is going to happen. And I was not giving up or going away. So we started that relationship with them in 2020. Shout out to Cindy and Mac. It's been amazing. They are incredibly supportive partners, especially for up and coming indie brands.
And when did you officially launch Alpin?
2019.
We officially launched 2019.
Wow.
Same as you
So,
guys, right?
That's pretty.
Happy birthday, but happy 5th birthday.
Yeah.
But but it was obviously probably one of the hardest years to start a beauty brand.
Wait, they launched us. So we started in 2019. Sephora's, like, our launch date was March 4th of 2020.
Oh my gosh.
And they said, we're going to launch you online only. We'll kind of monitor, you know, how everything's going. You're going to get online, and then stores are very competitive. It's hard to get in stores. Like, let's baby steps, right? Like, let's dip our toe in the water. So I'm like, okay, online launch, this is great. And then COVID hit. So we're just getting news on CNN of COVID. Everybody's like washing down their groceries in the driveway.
Oh my gosh, I remember
buying
this.
Toilet paper, buying hand sanitizer. After like 2 months, I was like, I am so getting kicked off of Sephora.com. My sales were non-existent, like not a dollar. And then in like July of COVID year, we had this like amazing boom of skincare because every person in the country is looking at their face all day long on a camera for the first time, you know? So you're looking at those wrinkles and you're wondering what you could do to get your texture improved. And like skincare just like took off, and we were there for it, right in the right place at the right time. So it was a bumpy first couple months, and then from July on, everything just started moving, and it's been great.
And was that like discovery from, like, what do you think? Like social media? Did someone talk about the brand? Like, why was there that boom in July?
I think that at that point, for us, we started moving fast because I think we were just a new brand merchandised on Sephora. And I think that client is so educated on skincare, and they just want to try everything that comes out that's new, and Sephora was giving us great placements, like putting us on the right places. The algorithm was rocking. I think it was just kind of just being new on the scene, and people wanting to try the latest and greatest. Social media we were really behind the 8 ball on social media. And like if I knew then what I know now, I would have done a completely different digital marketing strategy. So we're in all doors, we're in the next big thing wall, and we're getting our second shelf expansion, actually our third technically this month. So that's the goal, you know, you go in and you have a small footprint, and then as the brand sells and you're turning product quicker and the customers and client base is growing, you get more space, and it just gets like bigger and bigger and bigger. So definitely headed in the right direction, knock on wood.
What's your hero product?
So the hero product was the first thing I wrote the formula for a very long time, Melt Moisturizer. And then we launched the Super Peptide Ghostberry, and that has kind of knocked Melt off her pedestal. But there's a lot of clients for both. A lot of our community will use like Melt in the morning and Ghostberry at night. But right now it's that Ghostberry Super Peptide.
The Ghostberry is so delicious. It is such an incredible moisturizer. It just like melts into your face, and my skin feels so incredible after using it.
I just started using it today, so I think it looks great under my makeup. So I'm very
also that.
excited. Yeah.
It's
So good.
buttery and rich and just like barrier repairy, but it doesn't leave your skin oily. And the ingredient from Jackson Hole that's in there is this little berry called snowberry. And they call it nature's Neosporin because it has anti-inflammatory properties. So I was like, what better, like a healing, inflammation reducing little berry on top of a neuropeptide? I mean, it's like peanut butter and jelly. It just goes together perfectly. So
Kendra, do you have like a farm? Do you live on like a farm with all these
I do
plants?
kind of live on a farm. I don't have animals because I don't have time to take care of them.
Oh my gosh, I would want little baby piggies. Oh,
But
little
she's
baby
like she's
piglets.
busy
Oh
with
my
the
God.
plants though. She's
They're
like,
so
Are there little
cute.
piglets
Oh.
in Jackson Hole? I'll
they're
come
all
visit you if
over
I
the
can see a
place.
baby piglet. My dream in life, Kendra, is to be able to hold
Oh
a
my
little
God.
tiny pink piglet with little blonde hair.
No.
We need to make that happen
Then
for
we
you,
couldn't
Kirby.
eat pork for
We
the
need-
rest of our lives.
No, I've stopped eating pork
because of it. Oh,
because pigs are my favorite
They're
animals.
really
Quinn.
smart. They're actually very intelligent.
smarter
than
are.
dogs.
I don't
Sorry,
eat
Quinn.
pork either. Like honestly, it's
One of our
like
things
it's
is
hard
really
to eat. It's hard to eat a pig. I fully agree.
it's hard to be Asian and give up pork.
I know
It's
that is
so
hard because I do
hard.
love Asian any type of Asian food.
But I do love a piglet. But no, she doesn't have piglets at the farm.
I'm like,
Tangent.
I
I'm
wish
like,
I
please
did.
get us a piglet.
Look, we could all have dreams, and one day, Kirby, you can come visit me, and I'll have piglets and like baby ponies and little chickens.
Oh my
and
goodness.
We'll have
Oh,
an
we can go
animal
get our little
farm.
eggs. Get our little.
We can go get our little eggs.
basket
All
with
my
eggs.
friends have their own eggs.
Oh my God, I would
all
love
my
that.
girlfriends here.
By the way,
My
when I
girlfriends
said
here,
that
like,
Quinn
"Huh."
was not as smart as a pig, she gave me a dirty look. So she's smarter than we think, y'all.
She is.
She's way smarter than we think.
Yeah, look, she's here.
Yeah.
She's smart.
We have, the property I live on has many, many, many plants. And then it actually backs up to a national forest that has like another 1 million acres of plants. But we only use the plants that are on our private property.
What a dream. What a dream.
So nice. There's this conversation, and we get asked this a lot. Sarah and I talk about it a lot, and we ask people a lot about why do we see the same products over and over? Like, there was the lip oil trend. Then we saw a ton of cream or liquid blushes.
Now we're gonna see all these powders.
So
come
many
out.
powders coming out this year. And obviously that's cosmetics, color cosmetics. We also see it a lot in skincare.
Yeah, like we saw so many skin milks. It was like the year of the skin milk last year.
Right.
Or just like retinols, certain ingredients we see trending.
Or even like barrier repair creams and
yes.
things like that. But what I think is really interesting about Alpin is when I'm looking at an ingredient profile or you're pitching me a product or a new launch, I'm not looking at it and going, oh, okay, hyaluronic acid, glycerin, like all of these ingredients that are highly publicized and touted. They seem to be more individualized to
Super
your
unique.
particular brand. Can you shed a little bit of light on why that is? Like, obviously, part of it is like you're literally picking the plants yourself
Literally.
and saying, this is what I want. But as a brand founder, can you kind of explain maybe why we tend to see the same types of products or ingredients, promoted over and over and over and over?
Because there's a limited supply. Okay, so the ingredient manufacturers, they come up with these amazing ingredients and they do the clinicals and they do all the testing and then they sell them to the manufacturers and the brands. And for me, being in this industry for so long, I love clinical ingredients. I use those ingredients as well. But where is the innovation? Like what haven't we found yet? And moving here to Jackson and using all those clinical ingredients and seeing them not be enough in high altitude climate, I was like, what are we going to discover? Who was the first person who put oregano in a marinara sauce and said, aha, this just makes it a little bit better?
Yeah.
And in skincare, it's like, where's the oregano? Like, where are the ingredients that we haven't found yet that can change our skin, that can change the way we look and feel, make a huge difference, boost the efficacy of the clinicals? And if they didn't exist, I have to go find them myself. And when I moved here, I met a botanist. I spent a lot of time with him, just learning and absorbing information. And I found that there were 300 species of plants in my backyard alone. 300 species. Things like huckleberries and juneberries, omega-rich, high antioxidant content, tons of vitamin C. I was like, this is like, whoa, like a Disney World of new innovation. And if I take this and like, who knows if it's gonna work, but if I'm pairing it with a clinical that we already know works, like it has to like, there has to be a shot. And so I think why we're seeing a lot of redundancies because most brands are getting their ingredients from the suppliers. And look, there are great brands out there, and I am a user of all of them, and I support and promote other skincare brands as well. But for me, I was just like kind of banging my head against the wall. Like if everyone's kind of fishing from the same pond, where are we going to find that newness?
Right.
Where are we going to find like something different that could be like, oh my God, this is like the new nature's Botox, that no one's found yet. So if I couldn't find it myself, I was like, maybe it's out there. If I can't find it online or from a company, maybe I can find it myself, I should say it that way.
Sarah and I think probably feel similarly about this, but Alpen reminds me a lot of Tower 28 in a way, because when Amy launched Tower, nobody was using hypochlorous acid. Mm-hmm. It was very centralized to that brand. And now you see so many brands launching literally around hypochlorous acid. And Amy really was the first to commercialize it in the way that she did. With Alpen, I'm looking at my emails and I get the products. I'm like, oh, this is an ingredient that I've only seen in Alpen, which I think is very special. So I just wanted to tip my hat to you. I wonder though, is that ever, I don't want to say a negative thing, but is that sometimes unhelpful for our brand when you're like, we have this amazing ingredient, but it's not, maybe it's ahead of its time, or maybe people aren't talking about it a lot and it's not in everything else. Like, has it ever been a detriment to Alpen?
Oh, for sure. Look, when you're the first to market with something, there's a lot of education that's required. And when we first launched in Credo, I would go into those stores and talk to those customers, and I would say, I'm wildcrafting, and I'm mixing these wild plants with these clinical ingredients. Do you guys know what wildcrafting is? And people would look at me just with their eyes like bulging out of their head, So I was like, oh, wow. Okay, now I have to back up and explain. So there's a lot of education. I have seen a couple big brands start to talk about wildcrafted plants in their formulas. And it's funny because people will like DM me or they'll text me. They'll be like, are you pissed? Like they're talking about wildcrafting. And I'm like, bring it. Like, let this brand with like all of this educational money talk about wildcrafting. Like I love it. Like I am so happy that other people are catching on to this concept. I think there is tremendous potential out there. And I don't think I'm gonna be the only person to do it. We're the first to do it in the US, but there's people in other countries that are wildcrafting. There's beautiful brands out of Australia, some in the UK. So I'm not gonna be the only person to do it, but yes, it is hard to be first with something because you have to educate the consumer what that is. You can't just get out there and like say I'm doing this and everyone's like, amazing, we've been waiting for it, so
Alpen is like all American beauty brand.
It is. USA, baby.
Yes, USA.
Look, okay. American Wild West. Like I live in a
Yes.
town where people still ride their horses to get things from the stores. I'm not kidding you. So we really did kind of put our stake in that like Wild West skincare space, and Jackson Hole is very much a part of our DNA. It's a very Jackson born brand. And hopefully we brought a lot of things to the local community. But the good news is if it works in Jackson, guess what it's going to do in LA? It's going to be like Meridian. Yeah, it's going to be supercharged when it gets to sea level. So
Okay, we need to talk about the skin clearing oil.
Woo!
All of the glams have been raving about it. Everyone has been dying to know what it is. So now you know, everyone. This is what you have been testing. This is why your skin looks so good. Kendra, can you tell us like the idea behind it? Why did you come up with it? And then, who it's for, the clinicals, just like get into the nitty gritty of it. We want to know.
Because Kendra, this is a launch to me that has ingredients in it that aren't super alpine, in my opinion.
So there's a little bit. We have our alpine touch in everything.
I know. But
again,
you know what I mean, right? Like the
I know
retinol with the
exactly
salicylic.
what you mean.
Okay.
So so I haven't done a retinol product up until this point, mainly because every time I write all the formulas myself, I test myself. I've been pregnant and breastfeeding for what feels like a very long time. So I haven't done any retinols, and I grew up with retinol and I wanted retinol, but it can be a little bit harsh for some skin types. So I'm like, how can I do a retinol in the Alpen way where I'm having two forms of retinol? You have a clinical retinol in there, and then you have a pro retinol, this active called pink algae that has unbelievable results. Like the clinicals on this ingredient blew me away, but I can put the two retinols together, throw a little salicylic acid in there, and then give it an oil carrier base. So people are getting deep penetration, but they're also not feeling dry, red, sensitive. So I wanted the retinol in an oil base. And then as I was researching more and more throughout the writing this formula and creating this product, I'm like, wow, retinol is really good for texture, lines, and wrinkles, but it's great for congestion too. People don't realize what it does for congestion and breakouts. And then it all kind of just came together in my head. I'm like, okay, this is a clarifying oil that's going to work on congested skin, enlarged pores, people who have lines and wrinkles, but they're dry and maybe sensitive. And you want a retinol in your life, but you don't want any of, the negative things that can come with using retinol daily. So it all kind of came together. And then red raspberry was the active from Jackson Hole that we put in. And that just kind of like, it cut the sharp edges off the retinol, So when it just gave the skin this perfect synergy of the soothing, calming properties from red raspberry with the two forms of retinol, salicylic acid goes right to the pores, and that's how it was born.
I wanted to read some of the things that we have been hearing in the Slack channel. Is this weird, Kendra, if I do this?
No, I love it.
Okay.
As long as
This is what
I love my clamgelinos. First of all, the best testing group. I want to do this with you guys for every product launch from now until eternity.
Oh my
Your
gosh.
testers are so good.
Thank you.
So
They're
good.
very thorough, right?
They're so thorough. Sometimes they're asking
very
questions,
thorough.
and I'm like, babes, it's not that deep. Like, let's just
Yeah.
like they are they're like more into it than I would have got into it. So they really care. Okay, this is from Jennifer Gill. She says, night 10 and no purge, but I did use retinol prior. I love that it's not drying, and I do feel my skin has more of a glow and looks more even.
Been using nightly for a week and 2 days. I love the smell and how it's not drying, and I'm loving this oil. Can't wait to see what the end result brings.
Yeah, because they've been testing it for several. At this point, when we're recording, it's only been probably 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So they're still in the testing process. I'm a full week into use. I'm surprised that I haven't needed to use my regular nightly moisturizer after I'm not dry at all. So that kind of proves Kendra's point.
Someone said, not gonna lie, I'm kind of impressed. I'm a regular prescription Tret user, so I wasn't expecting to notice anything with an over-the-counter retinol, but I stand corrected. Face is feeling very glowy.
Last night was my 8th application. See, 8th application. Like, this is how thorough.
People are...
I'm like,
they're taking notes. There's a
have-
notepad
no,
in the
I was
bathroom.
Gonna say, there's a notepad in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or on their phone, notes app. My skin texture has improved quite a bit, as has the high color through... what does this mean? As has the high color through my T-zone? What does that mean?
Like hyperpigmentation?
Maybe that was a typo. Obviously, there are some people that are like, I started breaking out slightly, but Kendra, I want you to talk about the purge aspect of this. It is like, these are two powerful ingredients, salicylic acid with retinol.
When you're using a retinol with a salicylic acid and your goal is to clear out congestion, get clear, beautiful, glowy skin, and make those enlarged pores shrink and appear smaller, you might have some unexpected things going on under the surface. It's like when you clean out your closet, when you get to the back of the closet, you might find some things in the back that you didn't think were there, you know? And that's the same thing with using salicylic acid and retinol. And if there is we call it, like, purge can be a scary word for some, a detoxification, you know, if we're cleaning out and getting the stuff from the back of the closet out, you know, so the front looks a little bit better, that there might be a period of time where you see some congestions, some whiteheads, some breakouts, but push through because there is blue water on the other side of this storm, people. I'm telling you, like, it will get there. And if you're using a clarifying or skin clearing treatment and you are purging, that means it's doing what it was formulated to do, because who wants a clearing oil that doesn't clear your skin?
Sometimes when we have people go get facials for the first time, they'll write us and be like, I feel like I'm breaking out afterwards. The first question we always ask is this your first facial? Or when was the last time you got a facial?
Great point.
Sometimes if you've got stuff in those pores, they're going to get as much as they can out through an extraction or whatever. But if you are doing a chemical or even physical exfoliant for the first time after several months or have never done it at all, you're probably going to have a little bit of a breakout, but it'll clear up if you keep up with your skincare at home. And that's what we've seen from a lot of people in the messages in the Slack saying, I did have like a little purge, quote unquote, or I did have a little breakout, but after 2 or 3 days it cleared up. So definitely it was doing its job.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. I mean, that's what it's formulated to do. Why would you spend money on something that just like sits on the top of your skin and does nothing? So,
and I mean,
is
if
a
it's
clearing
not
oil.
doing any, I mean, if you're not purge, a lot of people were interested to sign up for this because they saw that there was retinol in it. We asked, like, when they signed up, have you
Ever
used
used,
a retinol? Have you used a prescription? Have you like, what have you been using? And a lot of people in there, like that one note I mentioned, she said, oh, I was on prescription Tret before this, so I haven't had any purging or anything like that. So their skin may already be maintained in that aspect, but they are seeing results otherwise.
I'm so happy to hear it.
All right, so if you want to learn more about the clarifying facial oil, you can go to Alpine's website. You can click the link in our notes to read all of the product description. You can also read Glamgelino reviews as well, so be sure to do that. It's available now.
It's out. It's fresh, like right off the manufacturing lines. It's available in Sephora. It's on alpine.com. It's $56. You can make this product last a very long time. You do not need that much. I mean, a few drops, it just smooths beautifully right into the skin. So a little bit goes a long way. And don't forget your neck.
Thank you, Kendra. This was so informative. We loved chatting with you. We are such big fans of you and Alpine, and we hope to see you in person soon. Next time you're in LA,
Or we'll
let
just
us know.
hop on a plane.
Yeah, hop on a plane.
I've never been to Jackson Hole, so
Why don't you guys hop on a plane and
Yes.
come see me?
That sounds great.
Because
I'm down.
I want to show you, and then I'll get those pigs going for you, Kirby. I'll work on the baby piggies.
Great. Baby piggies in Jackson Hole with Kendra. Love it.